Hi, I'm Kat Kalashian, Live and Invest Overseas Senior Europe Correspondent, and I'm here in Lisbon before heading to Algarve for our Live and Invest in Portugal conference. With gorgeous architecture, fascinating history, and fabulous cafe culture, this is one of Europe's most underrated capital cities, a true open-air museum, just like Paris or Madrid.
We are here in our Lisbon Airbnb, and I just wanted to show what a modern apartment building looks like. It has this elevator, it has another elevator, but this isn't something that you can necessarily count on, especially in older buildings. This building is fairly modern. You can come see this very nicely refurbished apartment with tons of storage space. We have 2 bedrooms, very large. This isn't really a typical city apartment size in my experience. This is very, very large. We have a bathroom with a shower, no bathtub. Lots of closet space in both bedrooms as well. But as I say, most bedrooms are much smaller than this in Europe, and really you'd have, your furniture and your bed, and luckily there are closets, but again, not something you can always take for granted. In older buildings, you might not have closets. You have to get creative. They have a nice little indoor courtyard here that you can go to from the stairwell and enjoy a little bit of outdoor fresh air. We have a giant kitchen. Really one of the biggest I've seen in a city apartment. Giant everything, storage spaces. There's a washer and dryer, a dishwasher, refrigerator, anything that you need. And lots of very tall ceiling space and large spaces. And then the giant living room. And this is a building that's right on one of the streets. So they do have double paned windows, not really double paned as you can see, just double windows. And this helps a little bit with the noise as well as insulation. But don't take for granted the fact that, that you're living in a city. Things do get pretty noisy. Last night, we would be hearing people on the street walking at all hours. This morning, the trucks come by to make their deliveries and you can hear them all pretty early as things get going. So when you're in a city, keep that in mind. If you're, in a commercial area or a shopping area, you're going to have all of that stuff and all the noise that comes with it. And one other thing to point out is that we do have air conditioners in every room here, which I think is probably more common in the modern apartments. But again, in the older ones, you might not see that so much. And you're very rarely ever going to find centralized air conditioning or heating. So this is what we call a split air conditioner, and you just use it to cool the room that you're in, keep the doors closed, etc. And there you have it. Although I don't really think it gets that hot here to be using the air conditioner, but clearly they made the investment, so they must think it's necessary. And there you have it. This is a walkthrough of one of the modern apartments in Lisbon.
Known as the City of 7 Hills, Lisbon is walkable, but it takes a toll if you have to go farther than a few blocks. If you become a walker in Lisbon, you'll develop great leg muscles. Electric bikes are another option, but would still be quite a workout. Living here, you might want a scooter, motorbike, or car, but if not, it's a good thing there are metros, trams, funiculars, and elevators to get you through the cobblestones and endless uphills. The elevators and trams are used mostly by tourists, but they're useful for residents too. Plus, there's a great train station in the north of the city, which we'll talk about next.
All right, here we are in Lisbon's Oriente train station, which is at the northern end of the city. The train's going all over Portugal. We are waiting here for ours, taking us to Albufeira for the Live and Invest in Portugal conference. And as you can see, it's not just a train station. It's kind of like a mall. It's crazy. There are multiple levels, lots of big shops, and a tunnel over that way that leads to an even bigger mall. So lots to do while you wait for your train here at the Oriente station. All right, we're here in front of a Pingo Doce, which is one of the more common supermarkets found throughout Portugal. So pretty much any city or town that you live in Portugal, you'll find one of these guys, maybe several of these guys. And it is one of the lower cost options because it's a local supermarket with mostly local goods. Let's go take a look.
This supermarket is as close to an American-style store as you'll see in Europe. It's far bigger than the average grocery store in Paris, where I live. There's a huge selection of fresh produce, meats, fish, seafood, as well as pre-cooked food to grab and go, and aisles of selection in all categories. If you're living outside of a city, you'll probably have to drive 10 or 20 minutes to get to a grocery store, but it will probably be on par with this one in terms of size and scale. In a smaller town or village, the grocery stores you can walk to will have all the essentials, but less selection. Another thing I wanted to show you is a pharmacy, which in Europe you can always recognize easily by its neon green cross that will be lit up when the pharmacy is open. Pharmacies here are not like in the US, where they're more like mini marts selling food and all kinds of miscellaneous. They are well stocked for medical needs though, but not all the goods are out for display, so you'll need to ask the pharmacist for most things. I was under the weather on this trip, so I went in for some cough syrup. In Portugal, most people speak English, which this pharmacist did, and I was able to get what I needed and be on my way in just a few minutes. Although Lisbon is on the Atlantic Ocean, which is colder than most people prefer, the sea is still a wonderful amenity to have on your doorstep. You can enjoy a stroll along the boardwalk, through a market, or relax on a plaza right on the shore pretty much any time of year thanks to the climate. There are lots of drink and snack vendors here too, and you can enjoy a cocktail as you walk down the street here.
Hi, here we are in front of the Elevador Santa Justa, which is the last vertical one in the city. All of the rest have been replaced by funiculars, but as we've been seeing around Lisbon, it's a very hilly city, and connecting the lower neighborhoods and the upper neighborhoods has always been a bit of a problem. And they came up with this ingenious idea to use an elevator to get between different parts of different neighborhoods. And again, now there are funiculars all over the city that'll take you up and down the hills. I'm here on top of the Elevador Santa Justa, and behind me, in the distance, you can see the mouth of the Tagus River and the Arco Rula Augusta, which was this triumphal arch that was built to commemorate the aftermath of the 1755 earthquake. And it actually, as simple as it seems, even if you're looking at it up close, it seems like a simple arc. It took over 100 years to build this arc. So a very cool piece of history right at the mouth of the river and on the front of the Praça do Comércio. So one of the main things that you see as you're entering the city from that side of the water.
Could Lisbon be the place for you? If you enjoy a mild climate, cafe culture, delicious and healthy cuisine, local wine that costs less than a soda at a restaurant, as well as living among history and art, then this might be the city for you. Plus, you've got beaches within just 20 minutes or so of the city, as well as national parks and reserves for a dose of the outdoors. If you've got mobility concerns, you might give Lisbon a pass. Aside from the cobblestones and hills though, there's not much to complain about in Lisbon, where life is laid back yet modern and developed, beachy yet cosmopolitan, and above all, more affordable than most other European capital cities. If you want to learn more about life in Lisbon or elsewhere in Portugal, Europe, or the world, click on the link on the screen.